stuttered a lot this video. I'm actually sick right now, so you keep hearing me pause and stuff because these words are hard to get out. But what's good, man? Y'all know what time it is, man. It's time for the mock drafts. A couple days ago on Tuesday, the draft lottery finally happened, and the Orlando Magic got the first pick. So I decided to do a mock draft. I've been studying a lot for this video, man. I watch college basketball, not as much as the average person, but I watch it. I pay attention. I'm not just paying attention to the big names. Like, I watch it. I got some favorite players that's not on the big name school, so I definitely watch it. But I had to do a lot of studying for this. A lot. I had to do a lot of studying. Because I just didn't want to come in here with no generic stuff. Like, I wanted to explain why I had certain players going where. So let's get straight into it. First pick, for me, is pretty unanimous. I think you go Chet. Obviously, in my opinion, I think Chet has the highest ceiling. And then when you look at this Magic team, this team has everything but a center. They have a lot of guards, they have a lot of wings, but they don't have that center. Mo Bamba has shown flashes, but they haven't been bright enough to stop the Magic from drafting Chet Holmgren. Wendell Carter, he actually slid into playing the 4 position, and I actually really like him at that position. So I think they go Chet here. Chet is a very versatile big who can literally do anything on the court. He can handle the ball for you, especially in the transition. I really love his handle in the transition. He actually knows what he's doing, and it's not really sloppy like other bigs that try to do it. Like, it's real poised when he's handling the ball in transition. He can shot block for you. He's a really good post defender. I don't know what just happened to the highlights, but he's a really good post defender, really good shot blocker. He can post up, he can shoot the ball. He's just an all-around versatile star. On defense, he's super quick. He's quick enough to guard some guards, and he's strong enough to guard some big men. That's That's one thing that a lot of people are scared of is his weight. I think he weighs like 185, and he's like 7'3". So that's kind of bad. But, like, I said the same thing about Evan Mobley, and he came in and he dominated some big, like some big bigs, not just some people that's like 6'11". Like, he dominated Jokic. He didn't dominate Embiid, but he had really good games against Embiid. And I'm not saying that's the same thing for Chet, but that made me look at it differently than I used to look at it, especially when I looked at guys with a small frame. I believe Chet can grow into his body. He's shown it a little bit in Gonzaga. He wasn't this big in college when he went to college in Minnesota. So I think he's going to grow into his body, and I love this pick for them. To me, he has the highest upside, and he fits perfectly with this Orlando Magic team, and he plays with his former point guard in Jalen Suggs, so I definitely love that. Next, I have the OKC Thunder taking Jabari Smith. After Chet Holmgren, I feel like Jabari Smith is the best player available, and I think he fits perfectly with this OKC team. They don't really have that 4 who has done anything on this team, so I feel like Jabari off the back can come in and have a huge impact with this team. This nice, really nice young core. He's a 6'10" 4 who is amazing at spreading the floor, shooting a whopping 42% from 3. When I look at his game, I'm not going to compare him to KD, but he has a lot of similar things to KD, and I hate doing this. I hate comparing, like, tall guys that can dribble the ball, that can shoot from anywhere. I hate comparing them to KD, but he has a lot of similarities to KD. One similarity for me is they both have really long frames. So, like, with Jabari Smith, he doesn't really have to create that much space on his shot because he can just easily shoot over you. He really doesn't have to worry about you in his face because it's a shot that's virtually impossible to block because it's so long. He's so long, and he shoots it above his head at that. So you're definitely not blocking that. He's already 6'10", and that reminds me a lot of KD, and they also take some of the same shots. They shoot it off the screen. He can shoot it off the catch, off the dribble. He can literally do anything on the offensive side. And then he has high defensive upside. Like I said, he's really long. A decent shot blocker, quick at sliding his feet. He has really quick feet at that. So I like his fit with this team. And having a young core and Josh Giddey, Jabari Smith, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think they're finally going to start moving it forward to, like, trying to get back to the play-in, trying to get back to the playoffs, because that's a really good young core. And they were already a decent team with the young guys that they had. Like, they were competing at every game, and adding a guy like Jabari Smith, that will help out instantly. At the third pick, we have the Rockets selecting Paulo Benchuro. For this pick, I had to choose Paulo because, first, he's the best player available, and I think he brings a different aspect for this team. Like, this team is really predicated on shooting outside shots. Paulo comes in here and brings a certain inside presence to this team that they really don't have because they're more of a team that likes to spread the ball. A lot of their players don't really play inside. Jalen Green's more of an outside player. Kevin Porter Jr. definitely an outside player. Even Christian Wood himself, he's an outside player. A guy like Paulo Benchuro, he just brings a certain aspect to this team that they really don't have. The thing that I love about Paulo, I don't know how to say his name. It's really hard to say. But he kind of reminds me of the Pistons' Blake Griffin. Not too much athleticism, but amazing skill and great footwork around the rim. He has this really good spin move that he doesn't use. Like, he doesn't overuse it, but he knows exactly when to use it, and it always works. It always works. He has really, really good footwork. He's a 6'10" forward who grew up playing the point guard position, so he already has really good handle, a really good feel for the game. He can kind of not play the point, but he can set up your offense a lot, and he's really good at doing that, and I like him. I'm just thinking about him right now in a high pick and roll with a guy like Jalen Green or a guy like Kevin Porter Jr. because he's able to make off the post. And I love his fit with this team, especially what they have right now. I heard some talks about them might want to get rid of Christian Wood. I don't like that because I feel like adding Paulo to this team, I feel like he fits perfectly for this young core going forward. So at 4, I have the Houston Rockets taking Paulo Benchuro. Now, for the Sacramento Kings at 4, I think they go out there, they pick the best player available, which is Jaden Ivey. I kind of like what the Sacramento Kings are doing as far as building a young core. A lot of people felt like that Tyrese trade was questionable, and it still might be questionable. But if you can get a guy like Jaden Ivey, pair him next to De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt, you're looking at something that's really fun. Like, really fun. He's a versatile tool who can at sometimes be your playmaker, and at sometimes he can be your number one scorer. He's just that versatile. And you're going to hear that word versatile a lot for a lot of these draft picks. A lot of these kids are just real versatile going into the league. But yeah, a really good player to fit next to De'Aaron Fox. I love the fit for them personally. And then you got a guy like Domantas Sabonis, who's also a really good playmaker, especially off the high post. And with a guy like Jaden Ivey, who also shoots 43% at the 3, he's going to get a lot of open looks, especially with De'Aaron attacking the basket and drawing the double team. So Domantas Sabonis being a huge guy that also can play, make, and pass, can do it all, basically on the offensive side. He fits perfectly with this team, and then he brings this edge on the defensive side, a really good active defender that they don't really have. What's his name? Davion Mitchell. He's cool, but he's also 5'10". So adding a 6'4" Jaden Ivey next to De'Aaron Fox, I love the defensive potential in your backcourt, and I just love the firepower in that backcourt because they can play off each other even better than Tyrese and De'Aaron Fox played off each other. Now, this is where my mock draft probably separates from other people's mock draft. A lot of people probably pick Shannon Sharp at this pick, but not me. I'm going to go with AJ Griffin. To me, he's one of the best shooters in this draft, shooting a crazy 49% from 3. 49% from a 3 for a person that shoots it at a high volume is crazy. He's a really good spot-up shooter, and he also could do it off the dribble. Really a talented offensive player, and I didn't know that until I did more research, because when I'm watching Duke, I'm not going to lie, I'm paying attention mostly to player low. I didn't really pay attention that much to AJ Griffin, but he fits perfectly with this Detroit team. I already like what they're doing, putting 3D wings around Cade Cunningham. You already got Sadiq Bey. You got Jeremy Grant. Adding a guy like AJ Griffin, who is an elite shooter. He can also get a bucket on his own. I love his his bag on the offensive side. I don't like to use the word bag a lot, but I didn't know he had a bag until I really watched some film. I watched some breakdowns. He's a really good spot-up shooter, but he can also do it for his own. And I love him in the backcourt next to Cade. Then you got a Cade, Sadiq, AJ Griffin. I think you're really long, you're really versatile at that. You can play on both sides of the ball with those three, and then you figure out what you can do with that center position. And then if you want to keep Jeremy Grant, you're even more versatile because you got him who can also score good and also play off ball. I feel like adding a guy like this, who's more of an off-ball player instead of an on-ball player like a Shannon Sharp, is better than adding a guy like AJ Griffin. I'm sorry that I'm stuttering, but I just want to say this right. Adding a guy like AJ Griffin is better than adding a guy like Shannon Sharp, because Shannon Sharp is more of an on-ball guy. You got Cade, who is like one of the best on-ball guys we have in this league. So adding a guy like AJ Griffin, who is an elite off-ball guy, can move without the ball, is an elite shooter, I feel like that's better for this Pistons team going forward. I'm sorry that took so long to say. Now at 6, we have to pick Shannon Sharp. He's, to me, by far the best available. It's kind of hard to do a lot of scouting on him because I couldn't find a lot of high school games. He didn't play in college at all. I didn't really look up to see what happened with that. But he didn't play at college at all. But from what I know from like watching the clips, he's a really good scorer, like a really good scorer. And that's something that this Pacers young core doesn't have. They got the floor general and Tyrese Halliburton. They got the bigs and Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson. And they got Chris Duarte, who's a shooter/scorer, can do a little bit of both. But like Shannon Sharp is a pure scorer, pure athletic scorer. And I just feel like he fits perfectly with this young core, and he is the best available at this point. So that's what you got to do. So at 6, I got Shannon Sharp going to the Indiana Pacers. Now at 7, we probably got a surprise for a lot of people. But I'm going to tell you why I did it this way. I got Jeremy Sohan, or Sochan, I don't know how to say his last name either. I got Jeremy Sohan going to the Portland Trailblazers. And this is not the best player available, but for them it is. The Portland Trailblazers are still trying to build around Dame. They're still trying to win with Dame. They have had their best success with putting elite wing defenders around Dame. So drafting a guy like Jeremy Sohan or Jeremy Sohan, who's already an elite defender coming into the league, like on some Scotty Barnes type stuff, who can guard 1 through 4, slide his feet, do everything on the defensive side. That's where you want to go if I'm the Portland Trailblazers. And I think he fits perfectly with this team. And he's not just one-dimensional. He can do stuff on the offensive side too. A really good pick-and-roll player. Also a really good pick-and-roll passer. He can be a lob threat sometimes. A really good ball handler for a guy his size. And he's really good at finishing around the rim. So I like pairing him next to a guy like Dame, because he's really versatile, especially on the defensive side. Like I said, they had their best success when they had elite 3-and-D wings, and I think Jeremy Sohan, he kind of slid into that position and fit perfectly with this Portland Trailblazers team. Now at 8, we have probably my favorite draft prospect, and he's going to one of my favorite teams. We got Benedict Mathurin, man. He's going to the Pelicans. The Pelicans have already started this wave where they're trying to get as much 3-and-D wings as they can to put around their stars. So adding a guy like Benedict Mathurin is like number 1 on the leaderboard for them. Me personally, I do think they might trade this pick, but if they don't, I think this is the perfect person for them to draft right now. Benedict, his best trade is his elite shooting. Like, he's a really, really good shooter. I believe if he goes on that team, I think he's a better shooter than Trey. So, yeah, he'll be the best shooter on this team. And then you're pairing him next to guys like C.J. McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, who gather a lot of attention. I'm talking a lot of attention. He will get a lot of open shots, and he will most likely can all them shots because he's an elite shooter. And then on the defensive side, he kind of fits in perfectly. He's an energy guy, uses his energy to be physical with guys. He has great physical tools himself. He's the best on the defensive side, sort of like Jose. Coming to the league, he'll be able to guard 1 through 3 because he's built for his size, but he's also really quick for his size. So I like this fit perfectly. I think it fits perfectly with Pelicans. So I got Benedict Mathurin going here. Now at 9, we have Keegan Murray going to the San Antonio Spurs. Keegan Murray, to me, he seems like the perfect Spurs guy, an NBA ready player who can come in and automatically make a huge impact for this nice young team that they have over there. He's a 6'8" who can handle the ball, attack downhill. I love his touch around the rim. He has a good floater and a good hook shot around the rim. And then he fits perfectly with this team because you have a guy like DeJounte Murray who gathers a lot of attention from himself, and he's also a really good playmaker. And Keegan Murray, he's a really good outside shooter. So he fits perfectly with this team. And then on the defensive side, like I said, versatile. You're going to hear versatile a lot in this video. He's a really good versatile defender. He can guard 1 through 4 to a certain extent. Some guards might be a little bit too fast for him, but he's really good at keeping. God damn, he's really good at sliding his feet. Sorry, man, I'm sick, but he's really good at sliding his feet, and I think he fits perfectly with the San Antonio Spurs team. So we have Keegan Murray going to the San Antonio Spurs. Now for the Washington Wizards at 10, we have them selecting Ty Washington. No pun intended. This team, they literally have all the pieces they need to probably go back to the playoffs, but they are missing a real point guard. Adding a guy like Ty Washington, who to me is probably the best point guard in this draft, I think that's where they need to go at in this draft. He's a really good pick and roll player. Him and Porzingis will feed in that pick and roll. I love his passing the most out of the pick and roll, but he's also really good at getting to his spots in the pick and roll as far as mid range. Like I said, with guards that's smaller, like a Trae Young, like a Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, you got to have that floater. And he's one of those guys. He has that floater. He has that amazing touch around that rim. And he's a really good shooter. And then he's really quick on the open court. So I love his potential with this team. The defense kind of scares me, especially when you got him paired in the backcourt with Bradley Beal. But hey, who plays defense anyways these days? So I got Ty Washington going to the Washington Wizards. Now, for the New York Knicks at number 11, they were this guy right here, I got them picking was Dyson Daniels. And it was kind of hard to, like, study this guy because, like, I couldn't find that much clips. I don't know how to find G League clips. Like, these are highlights that we're watching right now. I don't like watching highlights because it only shows you the highs. It says it in his name. I want to see the guy's game. So I don't know that much about Dyson Daniels. I kind of read about him. I know he's a really, really good defensive wing. He can kind of play the point guard position also. I heard that he's a really good passer, a really decent passer, especially at putting guys in their spots. And from watching the highlights, he does seem like a Tibbs guy. A guy that's really active on defense, probably does most of his work on defense. So I think he fits perfectly with this team because they don't really have that guy at the guard position yet. I think RJ is more of a 4. So adding a guy like Dyson Daniels, I feel like that's where they need to go at. So for them, I got them taking Dyson Daniels at number 11. At the number 12 pick, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder drafting Jalen Duran. Last year, their biggest player was Aleksej Pokasevsky. And he's 7 foot, but he's also 175 pounds wet. So adding a guy in Durant's stature who is 6'11", who also weighs 250 pounds and has a ridiculous 7'5" wingspan, I think that would be really key for this team. He's a really good lob threat, really good post player, really physical on the post, really physically gifted. And I love his potential next to playmakers like Shea and Josh Giddey. And then he's not one-dimensional. He even has an outside game. Not really an outside game, a mid-range game, I meant to say. He doesn't shoot it too often, but he's capable of doing it. I love the potential in the mid-range. And he's, like I said, he has a 7'5" wingspan. So he doesn't really have to create that much space. And when he's trying to shoot those mid-range shots, he just raises above you. And then I love his defensive upside. This team had a top 10 defense with Derek Favors being their 5, so I'm just imagining it with Jalen Duran at the 5. Automatically, he'll be a really good defender, in my opinion, because he's really big, really huge. He doesn't really foul that much from what I watch, and a really, really good shot blocker. So I got Jalen Duran going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay. Going to the Charlotte Hornets at number 13, I have them selecting Tari Eason. For me, the Charlotte Hornets' main problem was they did not have any good defenders, especially perimeter defenders. They didn't have any good defenders, and you've seen that a lot in that playing game. They didn't have nobody to stop Trae Young, nobody to stop Bogdanovich, so they struggled a lot that game. Adding a guy like Tari Eason, who's a versatile defender, he's quick enough to guard the guards and the wings, and he's strong enough to guard a lot of bigs in the league. So I feel like that fits perfectly with the team. And he's also, like, not a dirty guy, but a guy that likes to do a lot of the dirty work. Another thing that they didn't really have, other than Miles Bridges, was a guy that can attack the rim. Tari Eason kind of reminds me of Miles Bridges. That's how he gets to the rim. He uses a lot of set moves to, like, get to the rim. He's really strong around the rim. So I have them selecting Tari Eason, and I think these are the type of guys that they need to start thinking about putting around LaMelo, these 3-and-D wings. So that's why I have them selecting. And lastly, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting Johnny Davis. He kind of slipped, and it's not because of him. I still love his game. I started to like a lot of other people's games too. So I feel like he fits perfectly with this team. Automatically, he'll impact us a lot because we don't really have that bench scorer, that bench shot creator. And I feel like he fits perfectly with this team coming off the bench. And then he can also slide to the starting position. He's a really good, tough defender around the ring, so he'll fit right in with our defensive scheme, putting big guys around Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. And I love that he attacks the rim, especially when he's coming off the bench. We didn't have a guy that attacked the rim like that. It was just Shetty Osman out there with Kevin Love, and those guys are outside guys. Adding a guy like Johnny Davis, who's a guy that likes to attack the rim, get most of his dirty work in the rim, attack the rim. I like that for us, and I love his potential. I think he has, like, some, not superstar, but I think he has some all-star potential. So I think us getting him at 14 is a steal automatically. So that's who I have. But Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.